What up? What up? What up? Yeah, it's your boy back in the building again. Just my damn opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one, and your boy got one too. I know it's been a minute, man, but I'm back. By request, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna bring my homeboy in here with me. Cool Cal. I'm trying to give him time to get himself together. It look like he on the move. I don't know what's going on with him, but we're gonna bring him on here in a second. And what we're gonna do, man, we ain't gonna hold y'all long. We're gonna hop right into the meat and potatoes, man. Everybody been talking about it. Let me see if I can get Cal. Like he don't got put out in the garage. Let me see if I can bring him in. Cal, I got put out in the garage. I'm gonna wait till I see his face. I ain't gonna let everybody in the world see him out there in the garage. But no, I'm just giving him a hard time. I'm sure he's straight. But with that being said, man, we want to talk a little bit about this NFL and Shedeur Sanders thing, man. I I honestly want to know what's been going on. My PC just freeze. Wow, I don't know what happened with that, but had some kind of technical difficulties. Let me see if we can get Cal in here, man. We're gonna talk about off the bat this Shedeur Sanders NFL thing. I want to find out if what was going on with that. Cal, you with me? You don't made it. You don't made it to the building.
All right, I'm in the studio.
Hey man, I see what you got going on there. Your little backdrop going on and everything.
Trying to set the studio up, man. You know what I'm saying? Moving around. Had a last second phone call I had to handle real quick, but I'm good, ready to go, brother.
Yeah, I just got in myself, man. I was running late. Shout out to Coach Roy Ball in the comments. I see you. Shout out to Coach. So yeah, man, like I told the people, man, we ain't gonna hold them too long, man. We're gonna hop right into the meat and potatoes, man. We're gonna talk about this Shedeur versus the NFL kind of thing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a few days from the draft, we're a few days from the draft. A little
Yep.
bit more information has come out, whether it been rumors or truth or whatever it may be, but more information has come out, and your mindset may have changed from when you first heard the news to now. Tell me your thoughts
Mm-hmm.
on the Shedeur Sanders being drafted in the fifth round by the Cleveland Cavaliers as opposed to being a first rounder by somebody else.
Um. Well. I mean, initially, the first thing I thought of was like, as we was watching the draft, the first round went by. I think there was all kind of rumors, from let's start from the beginning of last season. He was anywhere from potential number one overall pick to potentially, first round kind of guy. And I think that we all kind of thought, he was going to fall somewhere in the first round. So as the first round went on, we said, okay, well, this team, this team, this team, this team. And then it's like at the end of the night, it never happened. So now it's a huge story because, one of the faces of the draft is not even drafted in the first round. Um, and honestly, if we go back to it, potentially, I haven't heard this, but this is something I just kind of thought about. Maybe that was the reason that he didn't go to the draft in the first place. Maybe he knew or they knew that he wasn't getting drafted in the first round or the second round. And of course, they're not going to say that, but maybe that was the reason that they didn't initially go in the first place. And I remember they say, well, I want to spend that time with family and be around family. And that makes sense. But now thinking back on it, maybe you didn't want to be sitting in that draft room until the fifth round. I think potentially they may have known more than what we knew because everything that we knew comes from the guys that make the mock drafts, the Mel Kipers, Todd McShay's, guys of that nature. Those are the guys that we're normally listening to, kind of getting our information to say, okay, well, this guy's going to be a third rounder. This guy's going to be a fifth rounder. but they're not always right.
True.
It wasn't like necessarily NFL executives and people necessarily saying, "Oh, this guy's a first rounder." That thing. It was more so the Sanders camp, more so the experts that were saying that. And so I think that when we fell into that, we kind of said like, "Damn, well, what the hell's going on?" You know what I'm saying? This has to be something else. It has to be more than football. And at the end of the day, Shawty, maybe it wasn't more than football.
So that actually is a great segue because that was going to be my next question to you was, do you think the drop was due to more of on the film, I mean on the field stuff, what you saw on the field and on the film,
Mm-hmm.
or with
Mm-hmm.
things that were happening off the field, whether it be interviews, partying, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it may be. So was it more on the field or off the field or combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both, to be honest with you. And we talked about it, fellas, we get around, we talk about, we debate about a bunch of stuff. And I think it's as simple as this. The guy didn't have should have had an agent. I think that that's a great point as well. No one wants to deal with Dion. I think that potentially, I think all of those things factor in. Another thing factors in, which is the most important thing, is the NFL traits. We talk about height, weight, speed as a quarterback, arm strength, intelligence. You got to be able to throw that ball 30 yards on the rope, those types of things. And I think
You
that
don't think he could
those are
make all the
things.
throws?
I did see him make all the throws, but you also have to understand too, a big percentage of his completions, because I know we talked a lot about his completion percentage, things of that nature, were off of screens. So if you have, and I think I saw a stat where it was something like maybe 28-30% of his completions were just purely off of screens.
Hmm.
So that's not going to be something that's going to be heavily used in an NFL offense. But I think it came down to traits, and then I also think it does come down to attitude. I think if he was looked upon as a guy, let's say that, man, he went into the interviews, he was sharp. He was great at the board. He was able to dissect plays. He was able to do this, do that. The things that we've heard where he was arrogant in the interviews. I've heard he took FaceTime calls. You walk in there with your hat backwards. It seemed like the process wasn't necessarily taken seriously. Now, I don't think that was the deciding factor whether he was going to go in the first round or not. But I do think when teams are looking, just like if we go on a job interview, we got to decipher, are we willing to deal with all of those antics, and his play and his talent, does it match it? Because like I said, if he was Cam Newton and he had those kinds of traits, all this stuff would not have even mattered.
So before I jump the gun, because I almost think it sounds like to me what I'm hearing in a sense is almost like as good as he wasn't as good as he maybe thought he was to be doing what he was doing, right?
Right.
But let me ask you this: but how much does primetime senior have to do with this? You don't think he had it? It was no knock by franchise and maybe want to have to deal with him and his camp, meaning daddy and whoever else come with that.
Yeah, I think those are factors. I don't necessarily know that that was a huge factor, but I do think it's a factor. And this is another thing that we have to also realize as well. How many different coaches has he had in his life?
Hmm.
How is he going to respond when your dad is not there? He's been there your whole ride, high school,
Great
two
point.
different colleges. You know, let's compare him to, let's say, Cam Ward. Cam Ward has played, he's gone from a 0-star recruit to a JUCO to Washington State to Miami, continuously got better along the ride.
So
And you
we're
can
gonna call
say,
that adversity.
not necessarily adversity, but we know he can deal with different people, different coaches. He can take to coaching. Clearly he's adaptable, because some of the stuff I read about Cam Ward's pretty cocky. He's pretty confident. I don't think he lacked any confidence. I heard, or I actually saw the quote where he said, teams that pass on me, you know what I'm saying, they're going to live to regret it. That may not have been the exact words, but he said, if you don't draft me, you're going to regret it. That sounds like a pretty damn confident guy to me who feels, confident about his abilities. But I think the point was he had a lot more of those NFL traits that
Hmm.
mattered. And I think that that's probably the biggest deciding factor in all this, because I think at the end of the day, teams want to win. Guys' jobs are on the line, and I don't know necessarily know you're going to pass up an elite talent based upon he's a jerk. That's just what I feel.
Okay, because again, boy, you keep helping me into these segue because I gotta bring it up because we talk
Mhm.
about it off screen. You know what I'm saying? Some people maybe don't want to bring it up, but everybody want to. I know scenarios are different. This is a different scenario, but the whole comparison to the Eli Manning thing, like
Mhm.
it. I mean, do you think there's? I mean, I know it's a difference, but do you think it was as heavily or negative scrutinized like this particular decision was? Granted, we talking about two different scenarios, two different caliber
Mhm.
kids, and possibly
Mhm.
two different talents. Because we're talking about we know one guy made the Hall of Fame at this point, and he was
Mhm.
considered the number one pick at
Right.
that point. I don't know if Shedeur was well, maybe at some point he was considered maybe top three. I don't know.
But again, we got to go back, and I'm just, we've had a lot of different opinions. Where we told he was a top three pick, was this by necessarily people that are in the league, or are these by the experts?
Gotcha.
Because that's huge. Let me give you the point. Is that Quinn Ewers,
Excuse me.
bless you.
Thank
Quinn Ewers was he was projected to be maybe a second round guy,
you. First
maybe
round at
third
some
round
point,
type of guy. At
depending on
some
when you
point, yeah,
ask. Yeah.
yeah, as a first round guy, so he didn't go to the seventh round. There wasn't a big hoopla about that. I never heard anything negative from a personal standpoint about Ewers. But then again, it comes down to traits. You know what I'm saying? Like, does he have those overwhelming NFL traits that are needed to be successful? And I think that that's what it comes down to. And we brought up Eli. Eli had the traits, the size, arm strength, intelligence. He had all of those number one overall traits that you're looking for. And I think Shedeur didn't have that. And I think that played more of a factor than anything.
Okay. So just to cap it all off, and I'm interesting point. I mean, interesting standpoint. But just to cap it all off, where do you think he should have been drafted just based off football alone?
Mhm. If it was just football alone, I would probably have said like second, third round at the worst. If I was just looking at it in that aspect, I would say second, third round. Because as I thought about it, one of the things that concerned me was you've only played for your father. So again, that's something that is very unusual in itself, that a player that has gotten to this level has actually only played for one coach. I actually can't remember that about anybody else that we've ever seen where they've only played for that one coach and that one coach was their father. So I think that that's something that you got to think about too. Is he going to be receptive to other coaching?
Hmm.
That's a big factor. So,
I mean, I would think. Well, I guess you can't assume nothing at this point. You just would assume that his character and the thing like that he would be, but hey, you never
yeah.
know.
And let me be the first to say, man, I'm rooting for him. I like to root for the young brothers. I hope he is successful. But at the end of the day, he still was drafted. He still has the opportunity. If he is a first round talent, he'll go in there and win the job.
And listen, I love you, Cal. I can bounce off you so well. Cause my next question is to you is, do he beat out Dylan Gabriel? Dylan Gabriel, third round pick, more likely to make the team based off his contract. He's gonna probably
Yeah,
sign a decent contract. Shedur,
yeah,
fifth round pick, not
yeah,
necessarily
yeah.
guaranteed to make the team.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good damn question. Going into it, I would have said that was a no-brainer because again, Dylan Gabriel, I didn't think he had the traits to be a third rounder. You know what I'm saying? He to me looked like more of the fifth, sixth, seventh round type of quarterback to me, or somebody you just bring in camp. I
Threw
was
for a
actually
lot, threw for a
shocked.
lot of yards, won a lot of games.
He did. He did. He did. But I was still shocked because
Mhm.
when I looked at the physical traits
Right,
and
right,
just how
right.
he throws the ball, I just didn't see NFL. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
didn't see that. That was
I'm
my
with
thing with that.
you. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Um, yeah. So I was shocked by that. That was kind of shocking to me that he actually went that high.
So what you give it a toss up? Cause that's what so you talking about a fifth rounder versus a third rounder, but one of these guys
So
potential first, second round talent. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and listen, at the end of the day, and I'm gonna say yes, he does beat him out. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about he got Dylan Gabriel, he's got Kenny Pickett, he's got Joe Flacco. He should go in there and win that job. If you're a first round guy, I think you should go in there and win that job.
Anybody in the chat, does Shedur Sanders beat out Dylan Gabriel for a spot on the roster? Or they may end up
Yeah.
keeping both of them because they may end up letting one of those older guys go. But it'll be
Right,
interesting. But
right,
they still gonna have to fall somewhere in the pecking order. Who's gonna end up higher on the roster? You know what I'm saying? At the end.
right. Because again, you got Flacco, you got the old vet, you got Kenny Pickett who trying to resurrect his career. Obviously Deshaun's gonna be out for the year. So you got a lot of quarterbacks, but I think that if you're a first round guy, I think
They
you should
got
be able to
five.
beat those
They
guys.
got five right
Yeah,
now on the roster.
yeah, yeah.
So with who end up in Canada, coach? But that's gonna be interesting, man. I think one of them's gonna be trade bait. I don't think they cut either one of them. If someone goes, it's gonna be trade bait. If they
Okay.
let one go, but
Okay.
it's gonna be interesting, man. I know one thing they can possibly have a first and second string quarterback wrapped up on cheap contracts if it works
True,
out that way. So they may have a diamond in the rough. Okay.
true,
All
true,
right.
true.
Okay. Yeah, man. My opinion on the Shedeur Center thing is very similar to yours. You brought some to light to some things that I really didn't think about in terms of him only playing for his dad, only being one coach. That's pretty that's pretty interesting. Although I don't think it really would matter in terms of him being coachable, but I still think that's something to bring up that he's only been under one coach his entire career. So coach says Sanders is going to be higher on the depth chart. It's going to be interesting, man. I mean, I'm really that's going to be one of the biggest matchups. Now this year they need to be on what that show be when they had a
Oh,
camera.
Hard Knocks.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. That would be interesting.
but listen, that's part of what they may not want to. Some of the franchise look, we already want to see what should that outside stuff coming. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
So
right, 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 right.
so
And
that
honestly, when you think about it, I mean, he still got drafted in the first round. So whether he got drafted fifth round, first round, second round, it's still the circus. I mean, it's still the
right,
Sanders,
right.
that you still having to deal with, no matter where you drafted him.
Mhm.
So, I know we thought that there was some sort of huge collusion or whatever going on with the NFL. And if that was the case, I would have just said no one would have drafted him. You know what I'm
So
saying?
so you don't think there was no humbling or collusion involved with the NFL at all? You think it was just a pretty much straight up X and O's? The kid maybe just wasn't as good as a lot of folks thought once after we broke things down, and he went where he should have went.
I know I'm about to circle back around again, but no, I mean I think it plays a part. But okay, because let's put it this way. Let's say you got a guy and he's undersized, he has doesn't necessarily have all the traits. But you look and you say, man, he knows everything. He da 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 da. He does this. He may not be a first round guy, but because you have that right attitude and right spirit, that may propel you to say, you know what, we'll take a chance on this guy because character does play a part. It may not play an enormous part, but it does play a part. I think if all of the talk was, man, Shedeur has been amazing in the interviews, he's been this, he's been that, but all we've heard from the last whatever amount of months is he just been on some real jerk stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's what we've heard. That's pretty much all we've heard. I haven't heard anybody say, "Man, he came in here and he did an amazing interview." I haven't heard anybody say that. Maybe he
Hmm.
did, but that was never publicized.
Right.
So I think when you start to look across the board, and we know people talk, you know, so if you go in there and you have a shitty interview with Dable and the Giants or something like that, guys talk. They be like, bro, he came in here, he had his hat on backwards, he was on FaceTime with his boys, whatever it may have been. People talk.
You
You
see
know,
that
those things
comment?
talk to
I don't know.
talk
I don't know
that
if Coach making fun about Shedeur or he
he
just being
couldn't end
honest.
up with the Argonaut.
Right. The Canadian League.
The Toronto Argonauts.
Right.
He gonna take the Warren Moon route.
Uh, so I don't
That
know. I don't know.
I
I
hadn't
think
heard anything like that.
yeah, I don't know if it's gonna get that bad, Coach.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't see that. I don't see that.
so let me ask you this,
Yeah.
Cat. Did you know? I know it's way too early, but did you have a chance to do a preseason SEC top 10, or you want to hop into the movie review?
I didn't do the SEC top 10.
Okay.
Didn't do the SEC top 10.
Not a big deal. Not
But
a big
yeah.
deal.
But we can get into it though.
You think you can come up with a top 10 preseason top 10 SEC?
Yeah, go ahead and start it off.
Okay, well we go team
Yeah.
for team for team at doing the whole year. We go team for team. So I'm
Okay.
gonna do a top 10 all SEC preseason. Way too early, everybody. So don't jump down my throat. This is how I feel right now based off the information that we currently have. All right. Yeah, and I agree, Coach. You just got to go prove himself. That's part of being picked in the 5th round. You ain't got no choice but to prove yourself because you're not guaranteed a roster spot. And then as
That's
a 5th
true.
round going somewhere else, you're already now you signed as somewhat of a free agent again, so you still ain't guaranteed no spot. So yeah, he got to prove himself.
That's true.
So with that being said, my way too early preseason SEC top 10 team bringing up the rear. And the reason they jump into my top 10 is part of what they did in the transfer portal. And I also think this is a make or break season for their coach, depending on how they finish. But my number 10 team is Oklahoma. They finished last season 6-7.
Mm-hmm.
They finished, I think, ranked 40 something in the country. But they'll be a preseason top 25 this year. I think maybe top, they'll be like top 20, 21, 22, 23. So they're going to be top 10. They're going to be my 10th team in the SEC. Who you got?
That's not bad. That's not bad. Okay, so I'm gonna go with Auburn. I'm gonna go with Auburn. I think that I actually think Auburn has a chance to be pretty good. They've got some skill guys, some nice guys on the outside. They did bring in a quarterback from the transfer portal. It slips my mind who it is. Uh,
Yeah, and they brought in Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma.
Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. Speaking
Yeah.
of Oklahoma, yeah. So I think this gives him a great opportunity to kind of resurrect his career. I mean, he was a number one quarterback coming out of high school about 3 years ago. So, you know, he said it wasn't the right fit at Oklahoma. So now you're at Auburn. You got another chance to live up to the hype that you came in with. And so I'm gonna go with them. They've got a young receiver. He doesn't get a lot of talk because we had some really good freshmen last year, but Cam Coleman is a guy to watch out for, man. He's a dynamic young receiver, sophomore this year, and I think he could definitely make some noise this year. You know, and that's provided that Jackson Arnold can come in there and give them the boost because they've been pretty pathetic at quarterback for the last I don't know how many damn years.
Yeah.
So I think from at least from a talent perspective, they got a much better talent at quarterback than they've had probably in the last 5 years. So I'm gonna go with them as 10 and probably one of those teams that's on the back end of the top 25.
Okay. And I forgot to mention, OU did bring in a 4,000-yard quarterback, 35 touchdown quarterback from last season. So they,
Okay.
so that's what really what made me bump them up into the top 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And for them, they're kind of I kind of see Oklahoma and Auburn. They're kind of like the same to me. As far as either team could potentially have a little bit better year than what most people may expect. But again, man, it's the SEC.
And
It's
both
such a
coaches are arguably fighting for their
yeah,
jobs.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Especially Venable. Venable's definitely got to get something done this year. I agree
Mm,
with that.
for sure. So my number 9 team, I got South Carolina. I think that South Carolina overachieved last year, uh, but I do like the way that Beamer is recruiting. I think it's very good for the level that they are at. I think they will fall off a little bit this year, maybe 1 or 2 games, but I do have them bringing up my number 9 spot because some of the talent that Beamer has brought in, I actually think is starting to mature. So I got them at
Yeah.
the 9 spot.
So when you say they're going to be a game or two better or a game or two worse than last
Game or two
year?
worse. I think they're gonna
Okay,
fall
okay.
back
So 9-4 last year. So you think they're going to go like 7-6,
eight and
8-5?
five, maybe 76, but maybe 8 and 5 or something like that. I think that's very realistic for them.
Okay, okay, okay. All right, all right. They kind of one of my sleepers. They're a
Okay.
little bit more at the top. Okay,
I
I
think
like
eight
that.
and, I think 8 and 5 is pretty realistic for them though.
Okay, okay, okay. They're doing some good things. They're doing
Yeah,
definitely some
yeah.
good things. I'm
Especially
gonna
at the
go up.
quarterback spot, they bring him back. Arguably, I think I had that quarterback ranked 2 or 3. I think he was number 2 in my top quarterback list in the returning quarterback for the ACC.
Gotcha, 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 gotcha. Okay, that ain't bad. That ain't bad. I'm gonna go with my number 19. I'm gonna go with Missouri.
Okay.
Um, Missouri just to me, solid program. Um, they really coach their kids up well. I think that they have an opportunity. Like I said, I think that they're probably gonna be. Let me see. They were 10-3 last year. I think they come back a little bit. I think that they probably going to finish up maybe about the 8-9 win mark this year.
Let's see. Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna go with them number
All
9.
right. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, my 7th spot. I mean, I'm sorry, my 8th spot. I'm gonna bring up Lane Kiffin. I think they're gonna have a little bit of a fall off too, but I still think they're gonna be good enough. Maybe they're gonna maybe lose 1 or 2 more games this year. I think Lane Kiffin gonna have a little bit of drop off. I don't think he don't have quite the talent and
Mhm.
totality that they had last year, especially losing Jackson Dart, that quarterback. I think he was the main
Mhm.
catalyst for everything. So that it would be hard to not have a drop off, but I still think they're gonna be pretty strong. So I got them bringing up my number 8 spot. Ole Miss.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick. I'm right with you with the Ole Miss. I think that they take a step or two back. They were 10-3 last year, so I kind of feel like they're going to be in that 8-9 win type of mark as well. But I don't see them coming back winning 10 games. Jackson Dart, probably the most productive quarterback that they've had at Ole Miss, at least and definitely in the Lane Kiffin era. And that's going to be hard to replace. But they do have some guys on defense that they are bringing back. I think they'll be pretty solid on that side of the ball. And Lane Kiffin, he's an innovative play caller. He does some great design. So I think that he'll have his kids ready, and I can see them growing, getting better as the year gets, towards the end of the year. But again, they're taking a step back. Instead of being in that top five, I got them at 8 too.
Okay. Um, in my 7th spot, I got a team that you have already mentioned, and what has me got these guys so high again. Another team that has done a lot in the portal. As a matter of fact, they got one of our best defenders. It's Missouri.
Mm.
I think they're
Yep.
going to have a great defense. They already had a good defense, but with the addition of this guy, they're going to be even better. I think I got Mizzou bringing in my 7th spot.
Okay. Okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's definitely a good one. My number 7 spot, I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I think that Tennessee falls back. They actually could fall a little bit lower. I think that anytime some of this turmoil that they've had going in the offseason with Nico and him transferring out, I
Yeah,
definitely
so,
don't.
so how would you have them if they had Nico?
If they had Nico, I would have him in the top 5.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I'd have them in the top like 4 or 5.
Okay.
You know, but again, I think that they come back to the pack some. Again, there were another team that won 10 games last year, went to the playoffs. They lost. Now looking back on it, you've lost your quarterback. You've lost one of the best running backs in the SEC. You lost your best defensive player from last year. But Tennessee has recruited well the last 4 to 5 years since Heupel's been there. And I think that they'll be okay. But again, I think that they come back to the pack again and they're like an 8, 9 win teams. Because I kind of got these teams from like 6 through 10. They're kind of about the same. And what I'm saying, just the flip of a coin could flip things for either
Right.
one of those type
I'm with
teams. I think that they're really tight in that area. But
you. Yeah.
I do still think that Tennessee still has some big time talent on their team. But again, I think that they're like an 8, 9 win team.
I think the biggest difference in our list is going to be Tennessee and Missouri. I think we just
Yeah.
got them flip flop pretty much.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Uh, so where we at? This sixth spot.
6. 6. Yep.
So my sixth spot, I got coming in. It's gonna be the University of Florida. I think old Billy Napier, they got a hard ass schedule, man. But even with that hard schedule and half a quarterback played last season, they still was able to finish 8-5.
Right.
So sorry, my private jets coming through. But even with so I think if we can keep old boy with I can't think of his name, start with the D. What's the quarterback, the young kid name? Lagway. DJ
Yeah.
Lagway.
DJ Lagway. Yeah.
If he's healthy throughout the whole season, I think with the talent that they have, I think they can do better. Even with that schedule is just flipped this year. I think they'll be much better than 8-5, and I think that puts them at my sixth spot.
That's
I
a
think they
good one.
kind of, I think they take Tennessee kind of role in the SEC this year.
Okay, I'm totally with you on that. Everything you just said, that's totally spot on. I got 10. I mean, excuse me, I got Florida at number 6 as well. The biggest thing is that jump from that freshman season to the sophomore season. That's where you see, especially guys that are like 5-star guys. You really kind of see why they are 5 stars in that second year. And so I think that DJ Lagway, he's definitely got an opportunity to really step in and challenge, to be the best quarterback in the SEC. I think he really has that type of talent and that type of opportunity to do that this year. So that'll be interesting. And I see them right at the cusp of coming down towards the end of the season, potentially fighting to get into the playoffs. I see them as a 9, 10 win type of team. And I'm with you all the way with Florida.
Gotcha. And I'm telling you what, they get 10 wins, shit, they ain't definitely play off with that schedule they got. They might get
For
in with
sure.
9.
For
We don't
sure.
say that might hurt them because they
Mm,
may start so far back in the pack, not being a ranked team. That might hurt them. But if they
right.
start off ranked with that schedule,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
my fifth ranked team, man, I ain't gonna talk too much about them. Just Texas A&M. I just think I like their head coach, and I just think
For sure.
they just have an abundance of talent, and I think this is the second year, and generally a coach second year generally they had the biggest leap. So coming off an 8-4 year last year, I think they'll finish in that maybe 9 to 10 win plus range.
Okay. I don't mean to sound like a broken record. I'm with you with Texas A&M at number 5 as well.
Okay.
Elko, I think, is a hell of a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what he did last year. He got Texas A&M to do something that they haven't done in a lot of years, which is that they played extremely hard. I saw a different Texas A&M team last year as far as how they played, how hard they played, how scrappy they were. And I think that that's going to continue this year, along with, like you said, man, Texas A&M has great talent. They've got some of the best talent in the country.
And you know what, Cal, to your point,
Mm,
he brought what you said to your point, like the first time in many years, they just had stability. You didn't hear
yeah,
it wasn't a lot of ups and downs, a lot of foolishness going on. They would just
right,
play ball. You know what I'm saying? He
right.
brought stability to the program.
Right. They had some edge last year that I thought, and I'll go back to I was really impressed with them going back to the first game of the season last year. I remember when they played Notre Dame, and I left that game and I said, "Damn, both of these teams, man, play hard. They're rugged. They're physical." And that's something that stuck with me about Texas A&M the whole year, just how physical and how hard they played. If they could figure out that quarterback spot, they could be really dangerous this upcoming season.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they got a. No, I thought that guy was coming back. Did he leave?
If it's Weg, I think it was they had Connor Wegman last year. He was terrible. He was terrible. I think that they're gonna have a new guy because he just couldn't get it done in the
Okay.
games that the competition was even. He
Okay.
just couldn't get it done. They're gonna have to upgrade that spot.
He not gonna win you games.
No, he ain't gonna
I
win you
got
games.
okay.
No.
Well, bringing up my fourth spot is going to be the team that arguably, in my opinion, has the best quarterback in the conference coming back, and that's going to be LSU. You know what I'm saying? So, having the best quarterback in the conference is going to win you a lot of games. I know they haven't been playing a lot of defense down there the past few years, but I got LSU just with the talent and having the best quarterback in the conference coming back, in my opinion. They bring
Okay.
up my fourth spot. I think that warrants them the number 4 spot for me.
Okay. That's a good one. Um, I agree. I love the quarterback. I like Nussmeier a lot, actually. What scares me, I just read something about LSU. I want to say they had to replace 4 offensive linemen. And that's just always a scary proposition. But again, LSU they're a loaded, they're talented. They've got a lot of guys. But I went away. My fourth team is I had South Carolina. I
Oh,
think I got South Carolina.
damn, you that high on South Carolina?
I'm high on South Carolina,
What
man.
Beamer done? What Beamer sent you some gear?
I'm telling you, man. I like Lenore Sellers. I think again, he's an underrated guy. I like what they're doing on defense, and I like Beamer. You know what I'm saying? I like the way that he coaches the team. I think that he's really done a good job. Whereas at one particular point, I thought that he was kind of losing the program at one point, but he totally proved me wrong. And I like the way that they finished last year. I thought that at the end of last year, to me, they were playing like a top 10 team. I think
Mm,
that carries over into next year. And I think South Carolina is damn good this year and a scary team.
okay.
Now the question I got is do they ever figure out how to use Nicholas Harbor?
No,
Is he ever a factor? So he's not a
no,
factor. Okay.
no.
Okay.
He started out in the wrong spot. That's why he's not a factor. He started out in the wrong spot.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You don't take a talent right there who has. I mean, that's just a whole. Yeah, I know. I see. I know he got the speed. I know the side. But when you play in the receiver position, man, you got to have other things. You got to be able to drop your hips, sink your hips, get down,
Yeah.
and get in and
Yeah.
out of breaks and cuts. I
Yeah.
don't care how fast you are.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, that's going to hinder you. It takes time to learn that, and him trying to learn that as a freshman at South Carolina, because he played
Right.
defensive end and tight end in high school. See what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Right.
You
Right.
trying to learn that in college, bro. That's
Right.
you in the game too late,
I
bro.
always wonder, is that something that he wanted and that's the reason that he went there? Because it didn't make a
Yeah,
whole lot of sense to me.
yeah,
Okay, it makes
yeah.
sense to me that he didn't come in and either be some type of outside linebacker, DN, or
Right.
tight end when he came
So
in.
so if I'm right, just speaking, if I'm right, somebody can if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me in the comments. I think coaching there. But I think we recruited him, but we let him know he was gonna be playing DN.
Right. Right. Where he should have been. I don't know. I do think that that's incredibly odd. Like you said, just because you're a 4-3 guy, but with that size, he just doesn't seem to have, like you said, the hips and the agility to be able to be a great receiver
Right.
versus somebody, if let's say he was a tight end and you got him matched up against linebackers and safeties where he'd seem like he'd be a little bit more effective. So I agree
And,
with that.
and then, Cal, I would say this to them, and I don't want to talk too much about South Carolina, but if I got this particular guy out there and he's that particular talent, I'm gonna do what we were doing to Arian Smith. I'm gonna almost be forcing the ball to him. I don't even see them trying to force the ball to him at no points. I really, you know what I'm saying? But that's
Right.
just me. I don't,
Right.
I'm not a big South Carolina. I don't know much about him like that. Maybe he get more attempts than I think. I don't know. But a kid like that, I'm gonna find a way to get that guy the ball or make him be effective in some kind of manner.
Absolutely.
Even if he just came in on third downs, He's
Right.
specifically coming in there to run this, or if he on defense to rush the passer. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So, but
God
yeah,
damn it. You're 235 running a 4-3. God
right,
damn, you gotta find
right,
somewhere to play and be good.
exactly. I want, you know what I'm saying, but they haven't figured that out. To your point, to
Right.
answer your question, they won't figure that out.
Right. Well,
Let's
good. I hope they don't.
right, exactly. Okay, all right. So where we at the third
Three,
spot?
top
Three.
three.
My third spot. I'm bringing in Bama. I think Bama arguably have the best. Well, I ain't gonna say that no more because I said that about Texas, but at the end of the day, Bama, Georgia, and Texas have the best,
Mm,
I think, talent on the roster,
for sure.
1 through 85. So all of these teams are very, very close. But I'm bringing Bama in. Granted, this is DeBoer's second year. I think he's gonna make a jump in the program as well. But I just still think Texas and my number. Damn, I just gave it away. But my number two team and number one team just got a little bit more than Bama do overall.
Okay. 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 And I think that I mean, unless I don't know, unless we missing something, I think Texas, Bama, UGA, I think that's clearly would be the average man's top three. Now, which order you may have them in depends
Okay.
on you. I think
We'll
the big
just say
question.
that then. We all got the same top three then. We'll just say that.
Yeah, that top three, I think, is solidified. Like you said, I think from a talent perspective, I think that those three schools, like you said, 1 through 85, whatever it is, that they're just a little step ahead of the rest of the conference.
One
Um,
105 now. I forgot it
is
actually started.
105, yeah.
We're going up
So, yeah. So
107.
again, and another thing is they're all schools that have um not quarterback issues, but I would say have a new starting quarterback this year.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
I think that they now I'm trying to think who's well actually I don't know who's gonna win Bama's job. You know who's gonna win that job, or have you heard anything about them?
Yeah, yeah, I know. I can't think of the kid's name. Coach out here, he might throw it out there, but I can't think of the kid name. But he's been there for a few years already. He played a
Okay,
little mop up doodle with when Jalen Milrow.
Milrow. Okay,
But he's already there. But yeah, he's already there. Yeah, he's been in
okay, okay,
Ty
okay.
Simpson. That's his name, Ty Simpson.
Ty Simpson. Okay, okay, okay. So I think again, I'm with you with that. I do have I've got Bama at number three as well. Just because that I think it's the least known with their quarterback situation. And
Mm,
but again, they're a top 10 team. I think they'll be a playoff team this year. I think all three of these teams obviously be playoff teams. But I think that I just don't know a ton about Ty Simpson. We haven't had a lot of film to see him play.
mhm.
So that's why I would have them at the number three spot.
I got you. Listen, this what I'm gonna say, man. All our top three the same. We can shuffle the dice. Texas, Georgia, blah blah blah.
For sure.
Did what I because we only got about another close to 15, 18 minutes left. I want to get into this movie review, man. I've been wanting to
Okay.
do movie reviews for a long time. Our chat got into it, man. I know guys have a lot of different opinions. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually gonna watch it again. Uh, we're gonna get into this movie Sinners, man. So if you're in the chat or you watching this show and you don't want no spoilers, you haven't watched the movie, you might don't want to watch this. You might just go on and tap on out if you're watching because you might hear some spoilers if this ain't what you want. So what I'm gonna do once again, we're gonna hop right into this movie Sinners, man. So
Okay.
before but Cal, when I ask you this question, I want you to hold off on some major details. My
Okay.
first question is going to be this right here. So look, coach ain't seen it. He said he got to be out. so, so with
Go
that,
check it out, coach.
yeah. So with that being said, without giving detail, because I'm gonna ask you some detailed questions. Just
Okay.
overall, what did you think about the movie? And at the end of the day, would you recommend the movie?
Oh, first off, at the end of the day, it's an A+ for me.
Okay.
5 stars. I thought it was a great movie. One of the things that I find I love movies. Um, I like movies that have some depth to it. I like movies that are thought provoking. Um, movies with creativity
Without
as
giving too
well.
much detail now.
That is it. That ain't detail.
I
I'm
got
just saying. I said creativity. I'm just stepping around it. I ain't telling what happened in the movie. I'm
fair,
just saying
fair enough. Fair
that
enough.
that's the type of movie that intrigues me. I like movie with great acting. People who bring something to the table. I'm not, the biggest like, like Marvel and the remakes and stuff like that. Things that we kind of normally get. So I could appreciate that just from the artistic standpoint of the movie. That I thought it
Mhm.
was great. And like you said, I'm gonna have to see it again. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go probably next week, catch me a matinee and watch it again. Just because I thought the
Okay.
movie's that good, but it was also so thought provoking. There's some things that I want to go back and kind of like watch again. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? So that's why I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so again, we talking about the movie Sinners, man, and it's a movie with Michael B. Jordan where he plays twins. He's playing dual role actors. He's the same guy playing twins, and it's a horror
Mhm.
movie. That's based, it's a timepiece horror timepiece period based in the 1930s, I think.
Yep.
Uh, and with vampires in it.
Hmm.
So with that being said, it's a lot of, I almost want to say it's kind of like my boy Key and Peele, that Key movie. It's a lot of undertones and things that you
Yep.
got, a
Yep.
lot of Easter
Yep.
eggs, you know what I'm saying? Especially it's a
Yep.
lot of cultural things in there.
Yeah.
But one thing about, you know, art, meaning movies and music, it's subjective. We
Yeah.
all pull in different opinions about it. So that's what's so great about it. So my first question I want to ask you while getting to this movie, just from an acting perspective, you say you enjoyed the acting, which they had a stellar cast. The cast was awesome.
For sure.
How was what you think about Michael B. Jordan being this one guy playing dual roles? Did you feel like it was the same guy, or could you feel like it was two different characters? Did that
Uh,
did
I,
that
I
affect
did.
you?
No,
Did
that's
that affect
that's
you at all?
actually a really good. That's a good question. Really good question. I felt like they were different roles. I could feel the slight differences in them. One of the things was if you looked at the like the facial hair, they had different facial hair on them, so like that was something, as far as like a detail standpoint, that maybe a lot of movies might not necessarily do. But he had different facial hair on both of the characters, which obviously distinguished them in that way. um I think that
The,
I'm
the, the,
trying to
the,
say stuff without giving stuff away in the movie.
no, we
But
doing spoilers. I'm saying you should have
oh,
left.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. If you
okay,
don't want to hit no
okay.
spoiler, you should have left. The,
All right,
even their
there it is.
colors, even their
There it
colors,
is.
the color
Huh?
scheme, their color
Yeah,
scheme,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
red
their
and
their,
blue.
their color schemes. One had a black woman, one had a white woman. I mean,
Yeah,
so that was like, that was a difference. But I felt like that they were, obviously it was him, obviously, playing both characters. But I felt like there was a difference in them. That's how I felt.
for sure. Cause one was more gangster, and one was more kind of like, like stand upish, kind of like just just kind of like he wasn't as cutthroat as
Right,
the other. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't as cutthroat. And we talking about
right,
Smoke and
right.
Stat, which was the name of the two characters.
That,
And to me, that was the
right.
first thing that caught me in this movie. I was like, I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, I'm like, it was two different characters, but I'm like, they're the same guy, but it literally like it's two different characters.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I thought that was creative and
Yeah.
good, especially how they have them. When you're sitting there watching them in the same screen, and
Mhm.
you're like, yeah, why the hell? It's crazy. But again, like you said, that was a good point that you made as far as their personality traits. One was a little more. You say you look at him wrong, he gonna kill you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He gonna put one in your chest.
Mhm.
Whereas the other one's maybe a little bit more diplomatic in his
Mhm.
approach. So I thought that the one I forgot which one it was, but the one who had, I don't know, was she his wife or
Stack
was
is
she
the one
just
that's more
his
gangster.
woman?
Which one? What you talking
Right,
about?
but I'm saying that he's the one with the black lady. Were they married or they were together?
They weren't
I
married. They
didn't.
weren't married, but they weren't married, but they had a they had a thing and had a child together.
Right. And they had the child, lost the child. So they
Right,
always they had a clear, strong
right,
connection,
right,
and
right,
he was
right,
really passionate about her as
right, for
well.
sure, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought they were different. Again, that's that creativity that I like to see. So I thought that was cool.
So, you know, let me ask you this: was there without going into too many specifics? Because I want to ask you some specific things. I want to get a little bit deeper into this at some point. Was there anything that you just in general didn't like about the movie?
That I didn't like about the movie.
Right.
Uh, n- um, no. If I got to think that hard about it, no, it wasn't really anything that I didn't like a movie. Like again, because I'm excited to go back and watch it again. And
Okay.
like I said, I'm gonna go next week one day and go catch me a matinee and just go sit in there and just watch it again, because it's some things like you said. It's so many thought provoking things throughout the movie that I want to just go back and kind of like tie it together for myself, because that's
Right.
the way that I look at movies. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so there's some things I
Right.
want to go back kind of look at.
Okay. So for me, I would say this right here. For me, I'm a big horror fan. To me, it wasn't horror. So I expected
Mm,
horror. It wasn't. For me, it wasn't horror. I really, they to me they did a lot of character development. That's one
hmm.
thing I appreciate about the movie, because it makes you appreciate what happens at the end so much more, because you have these you're able to build up this kind of like feelings for the character because they have so much
Right,
development.
right.
But they did not develop the main vampire. I need more on him. I
Okay,
need more on him. Don't just
okay,
throw him in like you did that, and it just kind of like you go from there.
okay,
You
okay.
develop the whole cast, everybody
Right,
main cast. You develop everybody. For the first definitely the first two stances of the movie is character development for sure.
right, right.
Right,
And you know what? Now that you say that, that's a good point, because he was thrown into it, and it was basically like when he showed up um at the couple's door, and it was like, well, where the hell did he come from? It was just like he was just dropped out of the sky, and he was like
yeah,
burning. So you was like, you didn't know. Yeah, just
right,
like where did he
yeah,
come from at that particular
right,
point? You know what I'm saying? So
right, right,
that's a good point. It would have been good if they had kind of clipped away maybe 10, 15 minutes and kind of went to like where he was coming from with that character. I hadn't really thought about that. But as when I was watching the movie, that was the first thing I said. I was like, where the hell did he come from? Like it was just like he was just dropped out the sky and
right,
he was just
right,
smoking, you know what I'm saying? Then showed up at the door, and then it was like, and then the Indians and all of that, and they was looking for like, but where did he come from? Because it was still partially daylight.
right.
So
Well, it was
it
well, I guess you can say that it was daylight. It was dawn was coming.
right.
No, no, no. You actually right. No,
Yeah.
it was becoming eve actually.
Yeah, it was turning into night.
You're
But
right. Yeah, you're right.
again,
You're right. You're right.
where
Yeah.
the hell did he come from? Like
Right. It just
it just
right.
showed
My
him
whole
come
point
into
is
the
just right.
screen.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. So that was
yeah,
my point.
yeah.
But other than that, I was just like, all the character development, especially all the main characters. That's the only thing that I regretted not seeing. But I'm hoping it's giving me something. I don't want to jump the gun, but I'll talk about it a little bit later. Hope I don't forget to bring this back up full circle. But yeah, so that's the only thing I didn't like was the character development of the actually
Right,
the main the main antagonist, not protagonist, but
right,
antagonist. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
that's the only thing I kind of didn't like about it. So yeah,
right.
so yeah. So my next question would be to you is this right here. Like you said, I don't know if you want to give it away right now, but you may want to wait till you watch it again. But like it's so much going on in this movie. I'm talking about assimilation, cultural divide.
Hmm.
It's so much symbolism going on in this movie. So
Yes, it is.
can you give me like an overall after watching this movie, like what was not the overall, but give me, a few of the major themes that you pull from this movie that what made you what made you think this movie is actually about, if that makes sense.
Ooh, man, it's a lot of goddamn layers to peel on that onion. Well, I guess one of the things is the one scene where obviously when they were at the juke joint and the music scene came in and Sammy went up there and he got on that guitar, he started singing. I thought that seeing how the development of our music started, the genres of music were played throughout that. How they had the rap in there and how they had the rock and they had the blues and they had some of those different things. So I thought that that was really cool seeing, like this is like a basis point of how all of these different music genres started was from the blues.
Hmm.
I thought that that was really creative and that was really interesting to me. Um, because again, it was something that kind of like,
You do know that was
damn,
the first time that that was the first time really when Sammy kind of activated his powers. You do know that, right?
right. So that would say that again. So you say activated his powers.
Yeah, but so in my opinion, like so he always had this within him. He's a descendant of the
Mm-hmm.
people, so the music ties time, past and future, right? Because you
Right,
saw
right,
things.
right,
So he's a descendant of the people you saw from the past, but he had never
right,
really activated this power because he was singing church music. But he didn't want to sing.
right.
He didn't want to really go down that path. So when he got to the juke joint, that was the first time he was able to free himself and let himself. And that was draw. See, I don't want to get too deep. This is my opinion, but that's where it
It's
drawed the
deep.
vamp. That's what drawed the vampire to them because he heard him singing. He hear people sing all the time, but never not like that. And that same night,
Okay.
that's when Sammy, everybody was in there, and it's just like they was free, and they was you saw all the
Yeah,
scenes.
yeah, 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 yeah. So again, that's what I'm saying. That's deep. I didn't even really like think about that. You know what I'm saying in that sense, and that's why I said, man, there's just a lot of layers to the movie. Um, but again, I don't know if I'm just. But again, I don't know if the movie was trying to tell us. Um, in a sense, was it trying to tell us, hey, like, don't trust white people? Was that a part of the movie? Was that something that was like a part of what you were trying to tell us? I don't know because again, that's why I want to go back and watch it again. I don't know if it was telling me
So
don't trust white women. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, was that a part of
now,
the messaging?
that can be one way to look at it because the character was of white descent for sure. And then you can look at it another way. You can look at it from I took it from a segregation standpoint. I look at it like this right here. So at one point in time, like think about this right
Mhm.
here. So a lot of us say like if we would have never segregated, we would have been all right because we would always continue to spend our own money with our own people, right? So the one person who you segregate with, who
Sure.
you call family, you let them out and you let them back in because they were family. You segregated, and that was the one who brought everything in. So that's how I saw it. So that's one. So that's another way to look at
Okay.
it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean that's
Sure.
how I looked at it.
Sure. Sure.
I was just kind of
Yeah.
like, so that
Yeah.
was saying
And that's what I
it's
said, man.
hard.
It
It's
was
so
it
many
was
different
thought
ways to look
provoking.
at it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely like thought provoking. Because then again, cornbread, um, after he came back and the vampires got him or whatever, like his demeanor was of um like an Uncle Tom guy. Came back up to the door and how he was talking or whatever, you
Mhm.
know, like what was the messaging in that as well? Like when he came back and he was just kind of had that kind of like Uncle Tom type spirit.
So again, and I'm with you. See how that's why it's so great. We got different opinions. I'm with you. I agree to that to a certain extent, but I also took it at this right here. Listen, y'all didn't even give the white lady that kind of problem at all. Y'all let her right through the goddamn door. Talking about she family. But my folk come back, y'all want to get him hell. He can't even come. You want to Jew him down, find out what the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, what you doing cornbread all this time? Old girl come to, no, come on in, she family. One guy wasn't even gonna let in, remember? But the other guy, like, but the lady came, oh, she family. But cornbread comes to the door, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, cornbread, where you been at? What you been doing?
Right. So that's like, are we more, is that like a kind of a like a sign to say like we're more skeptical of each other and ourselves than we are of, of other nationalities? Was that something that it was trying to portray as well? Like I said, man, it's just like a lot of different angles that
Well,
we could look at this thing through.
Well, think about this right here. Even this right here, they had a Asian uh
Mm-hmm.
cultural
Yep.
aspect to it too, which was pretty dope as too. Cause
Yep.
during that particular time, I think they was basically, Asian were those were the first generation of Asian, like the one with the not the first generation, but of that particular Asian group after the railroad workers.
Sure. Yeah.
So so that was kind of cool too. But think about this right here again. That was another thing of what I'm talking about in terms of segregation. She let everybody in the door.
True.
If you would have never
True.
segregated, neither one of them characters would have had a chance to get in the door to let vampire in the door. So I'm saying it's certain
Yeah.
ways you want to look at it. That was ways I took from it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It great as you want to evolve. So that's why I enjoy this movie so cool, so great, because now I'm getting so metaphorical, but because to me, I'm big into sci-fi, and vampires
Mm.
are a species that consume blood, and everything is in the blood, right?
Right.
And that's what this movie is about, because him consuming blood, he wanted to consume Sammy's essence and that power of the music to transcend time. That's what it was all about, in my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw it from that standpoint.
Say that again one more time. That last part.
So so Remy, so in my opinion, in this particular movie, vampires like Remick, he was a he was almost like he was a parasite, but when he bites you and he turns you, he consumes your not he consumes your essence. He consumes what you're about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why Sammy was so important to him. He didn't really want nobody. He really only wanted Sammy because he wanted to consume that music, that power that he had in him about the music. That's where it was about him.
Okay.
Because when you do it, even if he turn you, I don't know if you know this particular movie, the vampire, they were a hive mind. Does that make sense?
They were a who?
Hive mind. HIV hive, like
Hive.
bees,
Okay. Okay.
like bees.
Yeah.
So it's
Uh-huh.
like you got this main one thing that controls everything.
Right. Okay.
Everybody think where he thinks, like he hears and sees everything that you see.
Right.
So
Right.
there was a little bit different take on the vampires. A little bit, it was more of a hive mind.
Okay.
So Remy, in my opinion, he was going around and so let me ask you this right here. Do you remember the line? Oh man, we don't win over our time. Do you remember the line that Remy said to Sammy? He was like, Sammy started praying, and he was like,
Mm,
oh, this is the same type of religion that was pressed upon me and my people.
can't say
Yeah, right when
exactly.
he was about to bite him, and he started praying. He's like, "Oh, that's the same." So that lets you know. So that was a dope line in the movie to me. That was one of the coldest lines in the movie to me. And I did a little bit of research, so that got to let you know Remy got to be at least was born in the 1200s, because he was before Christianity. He basically saying that's what the Templars and everybody else brought to Irishmen before we were whitewashed.
Mm,
Christianity to my people, cause
Right.
Irishmen, they worshipped. I think it was more of a pagan religion, which pagan.
Right.
I don't want to get too deep, outdate.
Yeah.
What I'm
No, but
supposed.
it's deep.
So
You gotta take it deep
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah. So that was one of the dopest line in the movie, and I think I put it in the chat. I don't know if I think I put it in the chat. Me and JB talked about it offline. To me, that was one of the dopest lines in the movie. I was like, dang, how old is he then? Because he like this was the same religion that was pressed upon me and my people. Like basically, what are you saying it for? It ain't real.
Right.
Because we had something. We had some before. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that was a pretty dope line in the movie to me, man. I thought it was a pretty dope line, man. But
it is. It was a dope movie. It was a dope movie.
Yeah,
and again, like we could sit up here, and I know we're gonna have to cut it short. We done been on here for over an hour, but we could slice it up even more because, like you said, man, it was just a lot of. It just was a lot of depth to the movie. But I do agree with your point. It would have been nice to have a little more background of Remick and just kind of seeing his development, how he came into play with it. Because again, did he just come into that particular town at that time? Was he going around to different towns? Was he, like what was his?
So Cal, again, I hate to say it's so much into this movie. I wish I could have started early. So remember this: he was being chased by Indians. So again, I took that as assimilation. Like it was almost like that was, they would. So basically, you got some Indians trying to tell you about. So basically, Europeans took over the Indians.
Right.
But you got these Indians trying to tell you Europeans that hey, something coming. You need to let me take blah blah. So that's a whole nother story in itself.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, the last question I want to ask you, just because of time purpose, I ain't want to get too deep into that. Is this right here? Does that lead from what we saw of the entire movie? Did you see the mid credit and post credit scene?
I didn't see all of it. I know that's what I said. I'm going back to watch it. I didn't see all of it. Yeah.
So my last question to you would be this right here: does it warrant a prequel or a sequel?
I'd say a prequel. Yeah, I'd like to see a prequel. I felt like
so a prequel would mean no more twins. For sure. Yeah, it's a prequel.
No, it would have because the prequel would be before that.
Right, so it would be no more twins. For sure.
What you mean? Maybe I'm missing what you're saying.
So a prequel,
if they did a sequel, it would be no more twins.
A sequel, you could possibly have at least one of the twins, because one of them lived.
But because he lived,
as a vampire.
Okay.
The prequel, a prequel would happen before that movie, so that means it'll be before the twin. You want to learn before where all that happened, right? At least you're gonna go to the prequel when they were kids, but that ain't gonna give you no background on Remy. They're just 10, 12, 13, 20 years early. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? A prequel.
When I was thinking of the prequel, I was thinking of the angle like what you just brought up. Like it would be maybe good to have a prequel and give him some more character development in the prequel.
Okay.
That may be something that would be I'd maybe interested in seeing that having him more focused in the prequel.
That's what I'm saying, but I guess okay, no problem. I'm just saying, but does that timeline run into the twins? When I say prequel, I'm thinking it's way before the 1930s and 20s.
Okay. So you're saying okay. So I guess
I don't know how far back, but definitely before the 19.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. That would be true. That'd be true.
So you prefer more of a prequel than a sequel?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think either which way you couldn't go wrong though, because like you said, one of them lived, and so you could obviously develop a story that goes along after that. I definitely can see that.
Or you can just fill in the time gap.
Okay.
Between what happened in, between Samuel after that born that night. You don't even have to go that far out here. That whole movie, was filmed in basically 24 hours, right?
Right. No,
So I
you
mean,
said it was filmed. Oh yeah, you talking about the
not
timeline of the movie?
literally, just
Yeah, the
just the actual
timeline of the
film.
movie. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
only like
basically.
a day. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so you literally
yeah.
got so much. You got that time gap from when after the barn he went
Yeah.
back to the church all the way to when he was old to a blues singer. So you can fill in
Right.
some of that gap if you wanted to,
Right. 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 Right.
because Michael B. Jordan and the chick they had a whole life. They had a whole life too, just like Salmon had a whole life.
Right. Right.
So but my only
Yeah,
question, I'm
that's
gonna leave
facts.
with this right here. The only question I had that I didn't understand, and I'm gonna leave with this right here. Why did Michael B? Okay, now I think I maybe got it. Why did he not kill his brother? He told him to protect him when all he had to do was just kill him. He would have been died. He would have led vampire anyway. Maybe he just wanted him to look over him throughout life. That's maybe what he meant by protect him, to look over him throughout life and make sure he all right. Okay, maybe I just answer my own question. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cause we all thought smoke killed Stack,
Right.
right? And I'm just like,
Right.
why wouldn't he just kill him? Because he was one of the last vampire. If you kill
Vampire.
him, he gonna be safe. But maybe he's just talking about maybe look at him throughout his whole life. Cause he was dying anyway. He like, if I don't kill you, bro, just look over him, make sure he don't. And that was so they made that promise. Cause they made that promise to
They
each other.
made. Right. 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 Right.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So maybe that would
Yeah.
have was. He just maybe talking about look at him throughout whole life.
Wait a
Okay.
minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I thought that was between him and the wife, or I mean the woman, where that was she was saying just kill me.
No. You remember Michael B. Jordan was on top of himself. He was finna kill. He killed his brother, and we thought he killed. Remember, we thought he staked him.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
And
yeah,
then when he
okay,
came back, we were like, damn,
yeah,
how he alive? We thought he
right,
killed him. But
right, right,
but he
right.
was like, but Michael B. Jordan told, when Smoke told Stack,
Stack.
he was like, bro, basically I ain't gonna kill you, but just make sure Sammy okay. That's why he didn't kill him.
Right, right,
He
right,
had got
right, right.
shot. Remember, Smoke had got shot. He was dying
Yeah,
anyway.
right, 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 right,
And I'm
right,
just like, why wouldn't he just kill him so he'll make sure they won't bite him or nothing? Cause he wanted the last one, but when he said look out for him, he was like throughout his whole life.
right, right, right,
You
right,
know what I'm
right,
saying? So,
right, right.
but that was all seen that we didn't see that, but that's what I'm saying. That's what they had to have had happen. Cause they
Right,
didn't cause they
right,
didn't show it. Remember, they didn't show it.
right, right.
We
True.
we we just assumed he killed the nigga.
Killed him. Right. True.
Yeah,
True. True.
right. Okay.
True.
All right. So yeah, man, I say go back and watch it, man. I'm gonna actually probably watch it again. Probably tonight. I probably watch it again tonight. If not tonight, definitely tomorrow. But probably tonight, man, because I've been,
What you watching it on?
man. We'll
You
talk
got
about it. But I had
you
already,
got your
I
own.
had already, yeah, I had already put you on somewhere. I guess I had to put you back on. We'll talk about it.
Put me on again, man.
We can't.
Give me that give me that AMC pass.
We'll talk about it off air, man. But with that being said, man, it was another great show, man. I enjoyed, man. I love movie reviews, man. Me and Coach, I had actually at one point in time talked about doing this, man, but actually recently, but we hadn't got around to it. So when you mentioned this, this was right up my alley, man. I watch everything. I love movie reviews, man.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, I love movies too, man. So shit, whenever you want to get into it, let's do it.
Especially movie like this, like, I really wanted to talk about They Clone Tyrone. I put that in the group chat back, but it wasn't, that stuff don't catch a lot of, if it don't catch no traction, I don't really push it, you know what I mean? But
That's what's up.
I thought that was another great movie too,
I
better
did
than
too. I
it,
agree.
it should have got more credit than it got. I think it went under the radar, man.
I
But that
agree.
was that was awesome. But yeah, with that being said, man, do you want to tell people where they can find you if you got anything going on? Tell the people where they can find you on my little small platform while we're here. Cool Cal.
Man, I'm just, shit. I'm just one of them people, man. I ain't on too much social media and all that type of stuff, man. I just, I'm here, man. Y'all can find me in Decatur. You know what I mean? So y'all can find me on Just My Damn Opinion. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can find me on Respect the Hedges, obviously our show that we do, Georgia Bulldogs podcast. And man, just hard working brother, man. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I'm here. Let's do the show more often. You can find me here.
Yeah, for sure, man. Real talk, man. Y'all can definitely find us both with the rest of our crew on Respect the Hedges, man. Generally on Tuesday night when the season starts, and y'all can find us live, guys, in Athens at the Athens brewery, man. I can't
Creature
believe I just drew a
Comforts.
break. Creature Comfort. I just drew
Creature
a break.
Comforts.
Y'all can find us at Creature Comfort on away games, man, during the season in Athens, man. So yeah, check us out, man. Until the end, man, we're gonna be up out of here, man. I don't know when the next show gonna be, man. Like I say, we just getting back in the groove of things, man. Hopefully, Cal come up with some more topics, man, and we'll be here, man. Until next time, man. Just my damn opinion, man. They like assholes.
Absolutely.
Everybody got one, and your boy got one too. And we up out of here, man.
Absolutely.